Short video here for you smart kids. See the top marker lights on this 800,000 mile van? Those are the factory clear units, and getting replacements for those individually when they break or melt or whatever. Factory, those would have come like that with glass bulbs in it. These have all been by now, pretty sure they're all replaced with LEDs. You can see them flickering a little bit. Those factory housings, clear and red, Dorman sells them. They're like close to 40 bucks a piece, which I find to be rather insulting. And then Dorman also sells the red ones, and many companies, you can see what's been replaced. That what the smart person does is, rather than replace them individually when they break, replace all of them with a cheap set from Amazon, which will be cheaper than an individual one. And they're designed to fit the same two holes and the plug works. Replace them with a cheap set of whatever style you like, and that come with the LED bulbs in it, and then you'll never need to worry about them again. Because the LEDs run cool, they don't burn out, they don't rust, they don't do that, and so on and so forth. And you'll save a shit ton of money by not continuously replacing the factory ones. Super short topic for you drunken hippies. This is very common. See how these are the rear running lights? And see how that's all pooched out compared to a non-pooched out one? What happens is, when you've got the factory glass bulbs in there, they make heat, and over time the heat rises, and the heat melts this plastic, and water gets in from the top and takes out the bulb. So what I have learned to do, after you replace these with LEDs, which could be these, available on Amazon for very cheap. Let's get a part number. The number you need is the 194, which are bulbs that look like this. The only trick with LED bulbs is you gotta leave the lights on, as I have them now to test it, because they're diodes and they'll only work in one direction. But anyway, once you replace that with the LED, then it won't generate any heat and it won't do that. But what you can do to keep the water out is flip the glass part upside down, which you do by taking it apart and figuring it out, because you're a smart cookie. And that's a hot tip. All right, because everybody wants to know, all the cool kids want to know, what does the Pentastar tick sound like? Well, it sounds like this. Can I do that? Hear how it's a single tap? What you're hearing is the wipers. Now the fan. Judging in person by the fact that it's louder here, tells me it's on the passenger side, probably in the rear. That is what you're listening for. Tick, 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 tick. That is your Pentastar tick. And now you know, you little fuckers. Okay, experimenting with a fun new tire. Saloon 225, 10 ply. Looks okay. Very, very affordable tire. Very, very, very Chinese. We're gonna put a pair of these on the rear of one of my vans and see how they do, but the price is so good that it's worth knowing if they're any good. There you go. The water intrusion problem is exasperated, is made worse by this foam magilla, which is a thingy that sits over top of your coils here under the intake manifold. And it really, all it does is dampen vibration. It doesn't provide support. The support for the intake manifold is the upper is provided by 4 10mm nuts that hold it, keep it. This piece is here for noise reduction, valve train noise, chatter. Although you have the option, I'll put it back on if you want, but we generally remove this. Yeah, it kind of sits on like that. We generally do not put this back in because it does trap water. This particular one, you can see how much deterioration has happened to it, and that's because it gets soaked in water. It's just made of foam, and it retains that water, and it makes this problem worse. So I delete this, meaning I just throw it away. Also, I have seen these come out with a lot of mouse chewings on them. Not that that matters. I mean, mice got to eat too, but whatever. But this piece is somewhat superfluous. I'm going to get rid of this. This is a little foam pad that goes right over here, and I've had it in other videos. The problem is mice love it, as you can see, and also it tends to collect water. It's actually damp, and it causes some corrosion. I'm going to delete this. All right, you pot-smoking hippies. So I'm under here doing the pump on this 62TE transmission. I want to show you something that's quite clever. And for all the people that piss and moan about Chrysler, and there are many reasons to do so, I assure you, this is an example of the Chrysler of the past, the Chrysler of the 60s, and even the Chrysler of the 90s. So this pump sits here, and it sits in this race, and as you can see, it's got bolts that hold it in. And you can see that these bolts have a smooth bore there because they're the bolt itself goes through here, and it holds the pump in, and it's a machine surface, and it needs to be quite close tolerance because it's going to leak otherwise, and you don't want that, right? But you can see, so we have a bolt bore here through the pump, and it bolts into the housing behind it, right? Loctite, all is well. How do you get that fucking thing out? Because it's press fit in there with the gasket, and it's serious. The way you get it out is you take a chisel and you beat it right here, and the whole pump rotates enough that you can see now it's not lined up to the holes. In other words, it's not lined up to the hole behind it. I don't know if the light will show that. Maybe I could use the camera and zoom in. Yes, you can see how I've beat it off center just a little bit. I've beat it off center. That's your dick joke for the day. Why would you do that? Because two of these bores, this one and this one, have threads. Whoops. Where is it? Ugh. Well, at least this one does. I can show you. See, it has threads that you can sink another bolt in there and push on the housing below it. See how that works? Isn't that clever? And what bolts do you use to do that? You got to hunt around for bolts. Aha! You use the actual bell housing bolts. It's tapped for this size. So I'll put one here. And only two of these have those threads. Pretty sure it's that one, but luckily I brought this second bolt with me. And now, as I tighten these two bolts evenly, which I won't be able to show you because I'll need two hands, or maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I will be able to show this. That'll make for an exciting video. I should be using a socket, but as I tighten this up, son of a bitch. As I tighten this up, because it's now offset from the hole below it, it's going to push against the transmission housing and push this pump right the fuck out of there. Now, that kind of clever, thoughtful shit. Yeah, you can see the gap here. You should be able to see the gap change as I drive this more and more. Yep, see that? Now it's flush. See that? Now it's starting to come out. If I do the same thing down here, you'll see it even better. Ooh, look, video with an illustration. There we go. All right. As I tighten this up, if I can get in here, right? You're gonna see the pump start to drive it. That bolt drive the pump out. See it? Look at that. And now I take a bath in carcinogenic fluid. And now I could actually just pull on it, as you can see, because it is loose. Now that is an example of the Chrysler of the past, and the Chrysler I fell in love with back in the early 80s as a young punk kid who could only afford these fucking Dusters and Valiants with their goddamn slant sixes and their goddamn one barrels, and most importantly, their goddamn ballast resistors that would blow every 50 miles. So much so that I had a Valiant once where I mounted 6 of them to the firewall, and when they blew, I just moved the 2 wires onto the next one. But anyway, that is how you get the pump out, and that is just sort of a little illustrative example of good engineering. Well, we've talked, we've had fun, let's cuddle.